I'm Lisa, and today I'm going to be comparing my experience with Adobe Fresco and Procreate on the Apple iPad Pro using Mike Could Draw Today prompt Sparkly.
All right, we're going to start with the prompt Sparkly. Sparkly, what is sparkly? Stars. Let's see, what else is sparkly? We could do moons. It's kind of looking like a chocolate chip cookie to me a bit, though. Okay, we have stars, we have moons. What else is sparkly? Sparkly dresses. Any sort of clothes? Like, I mean, that looks more like a t-shirt or something to me, but more like a princess dress or it's kind of avant-garde or something, I don't know. Let's see, like a really fancy bodycon dress could be sparkly. I mean, anything could really be sparkly. Thinking like Cinderella shoes. What does Cinderella's shoes look like? So it's like kind of looks like this. And then we got a shape like that almost, and then basically connects in like that. It's a little bit off, but meh. And then on her shoes, she's got like a big jewel up here that's like, no, that's a little bit too much, but this is sparkly. And then it's a heel, so we got like this. Nah, it's kind of, I guess, and I guess it almost has like a geometricness to it in the way it sparkles. But, sparkly is difficult, actually. What else would be sparkly? Maybe like money, coins. And then sparkly. I really like these ones here. These ideas. What else do I have that's like sparkly? Sparkly new things are starting. It's the beginning of the year. It's January. So thinking of sparkly things. Like unicorns or snowflakes could be kind of sparkly. Snowflakes, like basic snowflake looks like that, right? or like a diamond in the rough kind of thing, where it's like a bunch of stuff in the middle of all this stuff, and then there's just like right down here, Pika. I don't know. It's sounding like Pikachu at this point. So for example, if I go with these three main ideas I really like, draw myself a little plane here. So I can make 4 little thumbnails. Let's focus on that. You can see there's my little thumbnail sketch area. So maybe, for example, I could make a huge moon up here. I mean, that's not quite the right shape I'm going for, but I guess that's kind of like what I'm looking for. It's this crescent moon, and like maybe as it comes up, it's gonna connect right to star. And the star's like kind of hanging off of it almost. Maybe it's personified, I don't know. And all the stars are going this way. I don't know, this moon could be cheese. And it's sparkly cheese moon? I don't know. Do that. Give it a little bit of this interesting look to it, and it's like something different here. And then around it just space, right? So what else could make it interesting and sparkly? What if it was a rainbow moon? Rainbow moon? Okay, so that's one idea I have here. So then the next one, maybe I'll focus more on the star itself, like the star. I mean, if I could go a personified route where we have like a star doing something. For example, let's see, so I got a star shape like this. And what if we did it so it's like wearing a really fancy suit? Wouldn't that be interesting? I don't know, that's kind of random, but ta-da! And it's got like nah, that's too much like a t-shirt, but maybe more like this. And then it has like a big bow tie here, which is like really fancy. And I don't know, this is too big obviously over here because it's completely huge in comparison, but maybe he's doing a magic trick and he's got like a top hat over here. And then need some pants. Pants would be good. Like that. So he's like really shiny and he's doing some sort of magic trick. And of course he needs a face still, so and like maybe from here is coming a rainbow. Oops. It's close enough anyway, right? Okay. So we have the magician. Oops. Ugh. Magician. Okay. That's an interesting idea. What else? So we did the star, we did the moon. We haven't done a snowflake. Sparkly snowflake. So if we're making a snowflake sparkly, I have an idea. Okay, so we have this kid. Oops, his nose got a little weird. 1, 2, and 3, like that kinda. And then they have their mouth open wide, like this. And the tongue is coming out here, like that. This might look really weird. I don't know. This might be a little, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a kid or what, but maybe it's a little like too much. I don't know if this is what I'm going for or not yet, but we shall see, I guess. Alright, starting out with a different camera. So we were drawing on this one here, which was the snowflake mouth. I don't know. And then what have we not done yet? We did the snowflake. We did stars and moons. So I guess the last thing is maybe this one here could be interesting. The diamond in the rough kind of thing. So there's just like a bunch of things. Like maybe clouds or something. Maybe something like this where the star is coming out of the clouds here. So we have a bunch of different fluffy looking clouds. And it just goes off into the distance and then the star is coming out. So, star in the clouds. Okay, so those look pretty interesting. I have 4 choices of something that I could turn to something digital. So what I'll do next is take my phone like this, take a photo. Of course, you can also do this in the apps. For now, I'm going to put this in my phone, so I have that ready to go. And that syncs with my iPad. So let's continue on the iPad. Alright, hello everyone. So today I'm going to show you the difference in working with Procreate and Adobe Fresco on the iPad Pro. So this is my iPad here, and you can see the apps that I have loaded on. So today we're going to focus on Adobe Fresco and Procreate. So let's start out with Fresco. So you can see here that I have my documents that I've mostly recently worked on. Let's go ahead and create a new one here. So I'm going to go with square because I'm going to do Christine's, Mike Hood's prompt for the week, which this week is sparkly, I believe. So I already drew in my sketchbook, and I'm going to go ahead and bring that in using this photo function here. So I'm going to click on that and camera, and it's going to ask me, okay, yes, I want to use camera, but my sketchbook is under here. So let me go ahead and pick up the iPad. I put the Apple Pencil back. You can see here's my sketch that I was working on earlier. So I had a bunch of different ideas. Yes, this week is sparkly. So we have a couple of different thumbnail sketches here. I'm going to get a little bit close to it and then take a picture. Useful. Sure, you can use my photos, because sometimes I will take a picture on my phone and then I'll bring it in later as well, whatever's easier. So I'm going to zoom in to the one I want to work on here, and for Fresco, I'm thinking maybe I'll do this one here, the star in the clouds. So I'm going to go ahead and make that really big here so that it's taking up most of this canvas. I gotta keep making it bigger, just pull it up, stretch it out. And I mean, about this much is where I can kind of see what I want to work with. So I'm going to say done on that. And now you can see that that's a layer on the right side. So let me just go ahead and make this canvas smaller as well. And I'm also going to, let's see, where is my option here? I want to lower the opacity. Yes, so that's over here on the right side. I'm going to lower the opacity so it's not so bold here. You can see. I could also multiply or adjust any of the blend modes. I don't really need to do that right now. So let's go ahead and bring this layer up here. So I have a new layer. I'm on my new layer here. And so what I was looking to do here was to have a star sticking out of some clouds. So I think a great thing that we can do for that kind of image I'm trying to create is use the watercolor, the live brushes. So in comparison to Procreate, I think that one of the main features of Fresco is the live brush options. I think it looks very similar and acts similarly to watercolors. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with some inking though. So let's see, we're going to use the pixel brushes, and let's see, which one do I want to use? Maybe ink? Use a brush pen, because I like to use, even for these sketches I was using a brush pen. So we're on the correct layer. I'm just double checking. It's always good to do that, and so you don't start drawing and then go, oh shoot, I'm on the wrong layer. So let's go ahead and draw some of these. Do I like that look? I don't know. I think I might try again. So what I just did there is when you're touching the screen, there's a shortcut to undo with 2 fingers. So 2 fingers is undo, just like Procreate. So the shortcuts are generally the same. So let's see. So I think I might up the size. So now I'm going to up it to about 77 here. Just kind of slowly bring in these kind of cloudy looking shapes. And I want this star to stick out. Oh man, wrong angle. So depending on how you use the Apple Pencil may kind of change up. Ooh, I didn't like that one. I tend to shift around my angles when I'm drawing with the Apple Pencil. It's not quite what I want. So what I could technically do is take just what I drew right here, use a lasso tool, and then transform. So I'm going to move it where I want it to go, which is really useful. That's same in Procreate. You're able to transform and move things around. So that's very convenient. All right, deselect. So next one, I'm just going to keep drawing in these. Oops, I'm in the wrong thing. I don't need my lasso tool. Cancel. All right. So I'm going to go back to our basic brushes and just keep on drawing these little cloudy shapes. And I want it to come Oh, jeez. I don't really like that either. Right. I think it's going the wrong direction, that line. You can also turn the canvas to make it easier to draw in the direction you want. So I can turn it all the way upside down and just go ahead and get the effect I'm going for here. Now I'll turn it back in the direction I want. Which of course is all done by, just like you would do with any pinch and zoom device that has a touch screen that would allow you to do that. Very simple, easy to understand how to move things around, I think. Let's see. I'm just gonna kind of clean that up a little bit. I mean, I could continue to draw the clouds in the background, but my question to myself is, do I really want to? Like, maybe I don't really need to, or... How does that look? So now that I have the general look of what I'm going for here, I'm going to go ahead and hide my original layer here. I mean, now it kind of looks like birds in the background, those like kind of fluffy clouds that I don't really need. So I'm going to erase those by going to the eraser. And technically, for Fresco, you don't need to actually go to the eraser. You can just use the little orb, which is now getting large because I am holding it down. And I want to make sure it's a little bit bigger than that, so we're going to up the size, and then just go right over it, and bye-bye. See ya. Bye. Okay, so now we have the basic liner that I'm going for here. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer, which is this button above the eyeball. Technically, the eyeball, I could have just done that for this, too, and that just turns, hides or shows. So, convenient. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my live brushes. Watercolor round detail. Yeah, I'm going to go for the watercolor look. And I think, because, I don't know, clouds usually kind of a bluish tint. I mean, I could go for the background being a blue color. Let's see. Maybe more of this kind of... Yep, okay. So I'm going to just go ahead and start coloring the background a little bit here. And I don't have it set to multiply, but that's one thing that you'll want to do to make sure that these watercolors are going to be showing up over the line art. Or I could just pull the line art over the top, but I'm going to play with it a little bit and see which I prefer. I tend to like working with multiply when I do art digitally, just because I like the way that it overlaps over the top, or different, all sorts of different blending settings you can mess around with and see what you like for how your layers blend together. So, okay. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just go ahead and use some water and kind of blend this guy out. Ooh, look at that. Wow. It's kind of interesting to look at. I mean, obviously if you're using a regular paint, it's not going to move like this quite. I don't know. It, like, in real life, not digitally. It looks a little bit strange to me, but it also kind of looks fluid, which I think is pretty cool. And then I can also do that in some other areas to kind of give it a little more flow rather than looking like so how do you say, it doesn't look as perfect, I guess is what I'm going for. I'm just going to keep on going. So this is basically my sky that's going to come around. I'm just slowly blending it out. And I could go in and erase afterwards a little bit. I mean, technically you shouldn't be able to erase watercolors, so that's why this function adds water rather than being the eraser. That looks kind of strange, this cloud here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that ink in the other layer, I think. Unless, I guess I could leave it so it looks like a bird, but I don't know. Yeah, so it looks kind of like that. I think it looks pretty good that way. It looks like the sky to me. I mean, even technically what I could do is you can adjust the flow as well so that it's, you know, has a little bit of a different effect to it. I might go in and add a little bit of purple. I don't know, I'm going to see how this works. I can always get rid of it. So, I don't know, I want to give it a little bit of depth, I guess. Oops, I just went to the wrong brush. Alright, good thing we can undo. And just add a little bit of purple here and there. And then kind of blend it in with this water. I don't know. I mean, it looks interesting. I'd have to say that. I don't know if it's like what I'm looking for, but nah, let's get out of that. Let's get rid of all of this. I'm just quickly undoing by using that shortcut, the 2 fingers on the canvas. Okay, so now we don't have none of that purple anymore, so bye-bye purple. So next I'm gonna go and I'm gonna switch to the eraser. And I can just kind of get rid of some of this stuff. Whoops, geez, I'm in the wrong layer, aren't I? Well, the point is that I was going to, oh, and you can see here that the watercolor didn't get quite blended over the top of that inking. So that's useful to be able to kind of, I mean, I could have just turned off the layer as well to check that. But, yeah, alright, we want this. And we're on the wrong layer. If it's not working, you're on the wrong layer probably. That's the logic I have anyways. Though it keeps switching me. Why are you switching me to a new layer? Like, is there a reason for that? Okay, that's a little bit weird. I don't know why it's doing that. But, whatever. Oh, because I'm in a vector brush. Again. No wonder. Alright, that is our problem. Often, if you get frustrated, it's usually human error. Like, for me, that's usually what happens. So, that's weird. Let's get rid of that. Let's get out of there. Okay. And erase some of these little, I mean, technically you could just leave it and it would look more, maybe more natural, but for me, oops, geez. I kind of want it to have a little bit of a separation. Okay, so now we got sky here. And technically I could change the name of it or whatever, but I'm not going to bother right now. So next, I think what I'm going to do is go to, let's see, what color should we do for clouds? I mean, green isn't quite right, I don't think. Clouds. Maybe almost like a purple or like a darker blue. Like a lilac. Let's see how that looks. That could be interesting. So let's go back here to our watercolor round detail. We have some other options too. We could do the wash soft and see how that looks. Ooh, okay. That was on the wrong layer. But it looks interesting, so I'm kind of interested now. I'm kind of interested to just mess around and see what happens. You know, it's trying to sound like Bob Ross, but happy accidents, man. I don't know. I'm just going to go with it. See what happens. And I can always erase over the star. The star is what I'm trying to separate the most out. I kind of like this. I actually kind of really like this. And it kind of gives it a little bit of depth here. Yeah, okay. Oh, no. We don't want that, like, going everywhere. Getting a little bit crazy in here. So I'm going to take that water and just kind of blend out some of this blue. I really like how that's kind of it almost looks like it's reflecting off of it. And I can go back to, the cool thing about this too is it shows what recent colors you've used. So you can go back and say, wait, I wanted to use that color that I used up here, and just kind of sprinkle it where you want it. Super convenient. I can just kind of sprinkle. I did lower the flow earlier on here, so I'm just going to kind of put it back a little bit. And it's kind of give it a little bit here and there. I think I might add some pink as well. I think that would be really interesting to kind of give it a little bit of, I mean, it almost looks like something you could have done traditionally with some brush pens and something that, you know, wouldn't blend in with the paint. Interesting. Okay. All right. So next, let's go. I'm going to bring in some pink here and see how that works. I'll add a little bit of, change the size a little bit. So I'm going to add this pink on the bottom here. Let's kind of throw it in there, here and there. And then I can use the water to blend it out a little. Kind of give it a more of an organic blending. It's kind of what I was looking for here. I mean, it might be too much. I don't know. This could be too much blending, and you can tell me about that later. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting, I think, to work with. I might go back and add a little more of this purple in just to kind of, and maybe even some of that blue. That's strange. It's like kind of, I feel like it's almost blending a little bit too much. Like this original blue color isn't really showing up as much as I was hoping it would. It's getting a little bit on the messy side, I think. Okay. What I could do, I mean, since this is watercolors, it's a little bit hard to do, but I think I'll make a new layer and I'm going to add a little bit of white with a different brush here. Maybe like, what do we got here? We have dry media, ink stains. I mean, like for example, if you had a white gel pen or something. Rakes. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Painting? What do we got here? This looks interesting. Syrah. I don't know what that is, so if you do know, please let me know. Okay. That's the biggest it'll get. It kind of gives it a little bit of a sparkliness, I think. And then I'm going to go ahead and adjust this so that we have a different, let's see. I want it to show up still, but also kind of blend in. Overlay, lighter color. Interesting. Ooh, okay. That's kind of interesting and different. Alright. I mean, technically, I can also lower the opacity a little bit, and it still has that sheen to it, but it's not like super intense. Because that white is a little bit overpowering. I think that kind of gives it a little bit of that sparkly nature, I think. And then, so actually I need to go back in here to our watercolor layer and erase. So now we have just a star here, and the star I want to be like a bright yellow. So in this case, why don't we go to the vector brushes, and then that'll really shine in a lot of ways, I think. Because the vector brushes can make really clean lines, and it's really easy to fill as well. And then I can just adjust. Let's see, I can adjust opacity or whatnot. What I keep wanting to do is the thing you can do in Procreate where you click on the color and drop it in, and you cannot do that. So you have to go here. Oops, and you can tell that I did not connect my lines. So, go back here, kind of do this. Make sure that everything's, I mean, of course you can zoom in and check stuff, which is helpful when you're doing things, I mean, digitally or traditionally. So I'm going to go ahead and go back here. And there we go. So now we have our bright, shiny yellow star. We can see it like this. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust our blending modes again. So darken is fine. Could also try some different options here and see how they look. I mean, that's interesting. Hard light, okay. Linear light's not bad either. Pin light's a little bit much. And we don't really want either of those. So maybe, I think it was hard light I liked the most. Though I don't like that it's kind of coming over the top of this, so I might go instead to the one up here where it's multiplied. I mean, multiply looks a little boring, I think. I mean, these are just my opinions. But, I don't know, I'm going to mess with it a little bit. I'm going to zoom in and kind of go around with this eraser so that it still looks like it's getting tucked underneath this inking. Maybe then it will be more pleasing to me. But still, so we have these shadows. I kind of like how that looks. So it's a little bit too clean in some ways, the vector brushes. I don't know. It's interesting. So we have this shiny star. I mean, we could do a little bit more too. Like we could, for example, go over again with the white and we could add some of these basic brushes again so it has a little bit of shimmer, I guess. Scratchy brush could be interesting so that we have kind of, ooh, that's kind of fun. Oh, wow, this is interesting. Okay. Wow, it almost feels like I'm working with chalk or something. That's really interesting. Yeah, this brush is something, that's for sure. And then if I just kind of, it almost feels like messing with powder, which is really something I haven't tried before digitally for sure. This might be a little bit overkill on the sparkliness, but you know, I'm just having a good time. Interesting. Okay. I can also adjust this to be bigger too. Whoa, I can go, whoa, jeez, that's huge. Okay, let's not do that. We can go really big and make it really interesting and huge. I mean, this is like kind of intense, I think. So let's see what happens when we adjust it so that it's not so crazy. That doesn't look right either. I like that it's covering the inking a bit. I mean, that's also pretty good. Pin light. Hard mix. different. Whoa, that looks horrible. Let's not do that. Let's not go that way. Let's go a different way. Yeah, I don't know. You can also adjust the opacity a bit. I think that looks a little bit better, where it's still bright and it's got that shiny sheen to it, but it's not like overbearing. We can also adjust the hue, I believe. Let's see. That's one thing I haven't really tried in here yet, is to see if I can adjust the hue saturation on a layer, which is something you can do in Photoshop. But here, I'm not seeing anything for that, which is unfortunate, because that's what I would do in Procreate if I wanted to see how colors would work. I would just go to the hue saturation area and adjust my layer. But this one, I'm not seeing anything for that. I'm guessing you either need to open it in Photoshop and mess with it there, which is fine. I mean, I could do that. But the idea is that I would want to do my whole workflow mainly in this app. And that's kind of something that's a little bit of a downfall, I guess. A little bit of a downfall for me. But anyways, I think that this is pretty good where it's at. So I guess I'll go ahead and save this where it is. I mean, I can add my logo that I use. I don't know. I might also go back in here really quick now that I'm looking at it more and kind of... One other thing that I don't really like is that you're stuck with one kind of eraser as far as I know. And I mean, if somebody knows how to adjust that, let me know. But in Procreate, you can change it to different brushes. Your eraser can also be brushes, or can use brushes. Well, this one seems to be like a standard. Well, you know what I could do? I think what you're supposed to do here is hold this down. And then, yeah, okay, you can do that, like Procreate. It's just not in the same way. So that's something to pay attention to when you're working with the two apps is, that's not exactly what I was looking for. Maybe I need to make this smaller. Yeah, that's another thing I have an issue with sometimes is I will try to do something with one hand and the other hand will let go, which is a little bit annoying. I'm just going to kind of go around here and erase here and there so that these lines come out a little bit more, so they're a little easier to like kind of follow. Oh, geez, okay. Yeah, I kind of like that better, where it has a little more, it almost feels like it has a little more depth to it this way. It still has a shiny aspect, I would have to say. The sparkliness. I mean, I could probably do more with the sparkliness, but I'm kind of going for the basics here. I mean, technically also something I might also do really quick. Just as I say, I'm done. I'm not done, apparently. So, I mean, you could work on things forever. But basically, I think what I'm going to do, one more layer to kind of overlay on top of... Oops, where did that go? It ended up way down there. That's not what I want. Okay. Is grab a different brush here. I think I'm going to go for more of a... What I want is a spray. Like a spray paint. Maybe soft round would... Like, I kind of like to use spray paints to add color. And that's something that I'm not really seeing a whole lot of here. That's kind of huge. Might go down on the flow and then maybe that gives me more of a spray painty look. Huh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of intense. See if we can kind of lower the flow here and just kind of come out like that. I mean, that just makes the star really come out. And of course it's really like overblown at the moment. So we can see here's our layers. What is going on? Did I go on another layer that I wasn't supposed to go on here? Huh. Okay. These things can happen. That's a downfall also to, whoa. Now this is a time when I wish I had that, like, slider for hue saturation, because it's kind of hard to control. I mean, technically I could also go in here, or no, wait. I need the brush and then hold and kind of give it, so just coming out there. No, that's too much erasing. So I want to go down in size a little bit and just kind of... Okay. It's just a little bit too yellow, I think. Oh, I see what I did there. This is on the layer... Oh, I see. I messed up the layer that was my, like, white sparklies. Good job, me. Okay, well, whoops. It happens. Alright, so I'm back doing a little more work on this piece I was working on in Fresco, and I'm just going to do a couple more little edits here, and then I'm going to finish it up. So I think one thing I'd like to do is give this... I feel like it's too similar in color, especially this yellow is a little bit overblown. So I'm thinking to add a little bit of some different colors in here to kind of see what I can do to give this a different sparkliness to it, maybe. I don't know, I'm going to try this wet brush and see how that looks. This gives it a little bit of a depth, I guess. I'm working on the star area. So I wanted to have that shimmer and shine to it. Might also make this a little bit stronger since right now my flow is kind of on the lower end, so as in the brush flow. The brush flow is on the lower end. It's too bold. So, let's see. I also feel like this is like, I don't know, it's a little bit too sharp. Maybe I need to do some adjustments on the actual coloring that I did originally here and kind of go around it and give it a little bit of a different... I don't think this is quite the brush I'm looking for. Maybe some old bristles or something. Give it a little bit of texture. Maybe increase the flow. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be doing much. So, I mean, if I do this... Oh, I'm not on the right layer. That's my problem again. So this is an issue. That I'm noticing I'm having a lot is... Okay, so this is on the right layer now. I can see that. So if I go here, and then actually, if I work with this brush again here, I should be able to erase... No, I'm on the wrong layer again. Why does it keep doing that? Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? Is it because it's a vector brush? Is what I'm wondering to myself. It could be. That could be the reason why it keeps switching layers. Yeah, whenever I do this, it'll switch to a different layer, which I find rather annoying. So, that's unfortunate. I guess it's because this layer here is a vector brush and not the other kind of brush that I was working with, like the pixel brushes. So that's a little bit unfortunate for me. I like to be able to kind of mess with different textures and stuff, and I don't know. I wonder if I can convert it. Oh yeah, there you go. Convert to pixel. Okay, convert to pixel layer. That was my whole problem here. So then if I go here and try to just give it a little bit of a... That looks different. Okay. So it's not so sharp. I like that it's not as sharp. I'm gonna get rid of that line there. It's kind of... I feel like that gives a little bit of a shininess. That it didn't... That kind of quality. It doesn't look so clean, which I think matches better with what we're working with here. This part I'd also like to get rid of a little bit more. Yeah, that looks... I think that looks honestly a lot better compared to the way it was with the vector brush. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So let's go back. This is a layer that I don't think has anything in it. I just made it. Yeah, okay. So this is one I was trying to add some pink to, and then... So for example, if we do this and kind of... That looks weird, but... I think... Yeah, we want this to be viewable. I'm trying to think of how to give this a little more depth. Because I like the way it's going, but I feel like it's just a little too, like, soft in the colors for me. Like, it needs to have something else going on here. Let's try some green and see how that looks. I mean, that's also kind of a little soft to me. I mean, I could just... let's see. Let's adjust a little bit and see what this looks like if I kind of mess around with it a little. No, I don't like it. Alright, I'm gonna get rid of this layer because I don't like it. Bye. Okay, so then that should give me a new, start another layer here. I'm just kind of messing around and see how things work. I do like the light that's coming from this, but I just feel like it's not... I mean, I could also mess around and kind of move things so that... What are even these layers? Like, what is in here? It looks like it's just an empty layer to me. You see anything? I mean, this is one thing I am also not really excited about. Maybe there's something I can do to give me a little more information on this panel so I know what's in my layers, because I keep making all these empty layers everywhere and I don't know what are in them. It looks like whatever this dot is here, does that mean it's a pixel layer, I'm guessing? Then this must be an empty layer as well. Yeah, because this is a photo. This is the imported Hanko stamp I threw in there. So, yeah, this must be empty then, because there's like nothing in it. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I could move this up here and see like, whoa, okay, that changes it a lot. And this is now on top of the star. If you do that... Okay, we could also adjust this. Right now it's on the pin light. I almost kind of like this linear light better. I feel like it lets it stand out a little more. That's too soft. That's really hard. And the other thing I'm noticing is I'm looking at it not only on my iPad, but this is connected to my Mac. So I have a monitor that's also getting this video feed. So it's interesting to see this on two different screens and see how the colors kind of are a little bit different between the two, since my monitor is not the best monitor, and it's not very how do you say, color accurate. So I think the it's kind of a little bit of a difference to look between the two of them. And maybe, for example, depending on the device you're using, the colors may turn out a little bit differently. If you have any monitor suggestions, I'd love to hear them, because this monitor is great for gaming. I got it from a friend who likes to game, but it's not great for art. It has, what's it called? Blanking out on the name of it. I can't think of it. It's AMD's gaming engine that is cooperative with this monitor. I can't think of the name of it. I keep thinking Crossfire, but that's like not it. That's the old version. Anyways, if you're a nerd like me who occasionally likes to do some PC gaming and also do some art, I'd love to hear some budget to mid-range priced monitors. I'd love to hear about those, because could use an upgrade down the line when I have a little bit of money to spend. I think it will greatly improve my workflow. Anyway, we'll get back to this and just keep on working here and there. I mean, if I see the difference, I like that the ink is really coming out. Like this one, you can really see some of this ink pop. And one thing I'd also want to do before I finish this is look at it really small. Like, for example, you were seeing in a thumbnail, and then zoom into bigger, larger size here. I mean, another thing I could also do, I have this empty layer still, so I could also come in here and do like a wash that kind of gives it a little bit of contrast on one side to make it more interesting, maybe. Use a soft acrylic and just kind of paint over where I want that effect to come in. I mean, it's kind of similar to what I've got going already in the color scheme of things, but I don't know, it's kind of fun to mess with and see what happens when you kind of add some of this in here. I'm kind of just going around the edges, and then I can, oh, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Okay. So now you can see I have that in there. I could continue to add a little more layers to kind of deepen the color, and then I could even change the color a little bit into more of a midnight blue. Kind of throw that in there. So if I look at that in comparison to without it, I think it has a little more depth to it than before. If I, for example, get rid of that. Yeah, that does give it a good amount of depth in comparison, I think. I mean, this area is a little bit obvious to what I did there, so I might go back, maybe even, since this is a pixel layer, maybe even go into, like, this and then, like, grab a pink or something and kind of just blend it in a bit. That's not really blending it, is it? That's not blending. Wow, alright, that wasn't what I was going for at all. But hey, this is part of the process, right? I mean, that's actually kind of fun in a way. I'm going to throw that on a new layer. And whoops, that's what I'm looking for. So it's a linear light layer. So I'm going to do is just kind of mess around a little bit and like give it a little bit of shininess here so it's really popping out maybe. And then, I don't know. These are just ideas I have that will kind of make things a little bit interesting, maybe. I don't know. We already kind of have this layer going on already in the white that I did earlier, but I didn't try pink, and that's an interesting contrast to what I had going on before. So let's see. What am I going to do here? I want this, and I want linear burn. Oh, no, not linear burn. Linear dodge. Was that what I used before? I think that's what I used. Linear light. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a lot different. Though it's kind of blowing out over, you can see right here. This area here is like really getting blown out in the black, which I don't know if that's really what I'm going for. Like, I want it to be sparkly, but that's a little bit too much, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and what does this look like without it? I mean, it's interesting. If only one thing I wish that Fresco had, that Procreate has, is the ability to clear the layer so I still keep all the settings. It doesn't look like I can do that. So I basically have to start a whole new layer and then try again. So I'm going to just delete it because that's not what I wanted. And then instead of that, maybe what I'll be doing instead is kind of, not too much, and then just kind of go around and give it a little bit of a sprinkling, maybe? I don't know. Let's just see how this looks. And then add this so that it's going to that linear light. Yeah, I think that gives it a little bit of sparkle that's kind of different and interesting, and it almost looks like fireworks or something to me. I mean, hopefully it's not like too overdone. It's kind of interesting to me though. I think it gives it a little bit of like some interesting sparkly contrast maybe. I mean, let's compare. So it looks like this from far away. If we remove this layer, yeah, I think that really gives it a bit more sparkle, and maybe that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, I mean, I think there's still something to it that seems like it's lacking to me, so I might also adjust the opacity on this. Kind of dilute that effect slightly so that it's not so intense. It's like if you zoom in close, you can see it, but it's not so like overdone. And if you still get rid of it, it looks different in comparison. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here with this because I'm just going to... there's no end to editing your art, as I'm sure you know. So I think I'm going to stop here, and we'll just call this a day on Sparkly number 1 with Fresco. We'll continue on with Procreate. See you soon. Move on to Procreate. So you can see here's some of the things I've worked on in the last year or so. So I'm going to open up a new document here. And let's see, what do I want to use? I think I'll do square. So we're going to do the exact same thing as what we did in Fresco, which is to pull in the ink sketch I did with the brush pen. I took a picture of it, and I'm going to pull that in here. I could take the photo with Procreate, which is something you can do by going over here and then add. So that's the wrench, add, insert a file, or insert a photo. So if it's in your photo gallery, you would be inserting a photo. If it's saved in your iCloud documents or some other file that you can access, usually I believe this only works with iCloud Drive. So when I would do that, I would go into my iCloud Drive, pull down file, and then go from there. And then, of course, you can take a photo, too, is where I was going with that. So I think I still have a photo in my library that I took yesterday. Okay, so I just brought in the file, or the photo from my photo gallery. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm debating which one I want to do next. We did Star in the Clouds here for Fresco, and I'd like to do a different one for Procreate since we're making a whole new piece of art. So I'm thinking, which one do I want to do here? I'm kind of attracted to this rainbow moon, so we can do a little bit of contrast, where it's still kind of similar to what I was doing in Fresco, but I'm going to aim towards more of the background being a darker color. So let's go ahead and go with that. So everything should be good. Turn that off, and there you go. You have a layer with your photo in it. So I'm going to make a new layer on top of that. And of course, you can go into here as well and adjust the opacity so that it's lower. And this is changed to the new Procreate 5. So the way that this is listed, I think it's a little easier to understand kind of what you're doing here in some ways with these icons. I don't need to bother with that right now with adjusting how it's overlaying or multiplying over the top, different blending modes. We don't need to do that for this. So We may need that for the layers to come though. So I'm going to start out with a new layer, and I know for sure that I want a dark color in the background, but first I want to get these shapes down so that I know what I'm looking for in that regard. And I love the pencil brushes myself, but I'm going to try to go for making shapes that are easy to fill in right now. So I'm going to go to calligraphy, and for that I like monoline. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll just go with the white one. I was making a palette for a different piece I was working on. So, and you can see that this is more of an egg shape than I think I'd like. So I might actually make a circle first. And the cool thing about Procreate that I didn't see in Fresco is that you can hold the line. It's kind of hard to see, but as you hold it down, you hold down your finger or the Apple Pencil, it'll automatically create a really clean shape for you, which is something really cool, I think. So I would have a whole shape like that, and then I could actually go ahead and make another shape on top of that. So you can see it looks a little bit egg-like, I guess. So I'm going to use a different color. These are really close to the background colors. I'm going to pick a different color that's easier for you to see what I'm doing. Or you know what? Rather than doing that, I could even duplicate this. So you just swipe to the left, duplicate. So I have the same thing, but I'm going to just change the color. And I'm going to pull it up like this so that we can see that we're getting kind of a crescent here. And then what I'd like to be able to do here is crop out the part from the white underneath. So one thing that I do like about Fresco is that even when I move the layers around, they don't get cut off because I put them to the end of the canvas, and that's something that does happen when you use Procreate. You'll move things out of the way, and then it turns out it cut off half of your image that was on that layer. And if you don't know that, when you get started and you start moving things around and playing with things, and then you realize you can't put them back because they're missing pieces, it's unfortunate. So it's a good thing to remember when you do go into Procreate that part is different, and to keep in mind. So let me go ahead and merge this down so you can kind of see there, and then I should be able to go into here, not here. Which one is it? What I want is just this white. I'm trying to select that. Yeah, automatic. So now, yeah, I have just the white part, which just turned black. And I'm going to copy paste that. So that's on a new layer. So now all we have is a crescent, which is what I was looking for. So we can just go ahead and get rid of that. We don't even need it anymore. So I'm just going to say goodbye, delete. And then we've got this star. So the way that I made this shape turns out to not really give the star much of the ability to move up. So I could also go ahead and turn it a little so that maybe the star can be hanging out over here somewhere. Still figuring that part out here. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a completely new color. Let's just use bright yellow so we can tell that that's where the star is going to be. And I'm just going to play around with this a little. So make a little star shape here. And the star is like going like this and stepping on the moon here. It almost looks like a sea star in this way. I mean, I don't know if that's what I'm looking for, so I'm going to go back and get rid of it. It's an interesting look to it. I'm not sure if I like it, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it there for now. I'm going to make a new layer with my little stars going off into the distance. And I can always go back and adjust this. Make sure that it's completely closed so that when I do go ahead and drop the color in, it doesn't get lost and end up filling up the entire canvas with color. I mean, I could also, for these small ones, I'm just going to go ahead and color them in. It should be fine. There we go. Okay, so that's basically the concept I was going with here. So now we can get rid of the background, and we can see that that's kind of what I was going with for the basic shapes of my design. So then for the background color, I can just go ahead and edit that right here, and you can see that I can adjust it however I like. I might go for more of a purple background. I almost want it to be even darker than that. It's just really nice and deep colored here. There, okay. So now you can see that I've got my my background set, and I've got my main shape here for the moon. So I can even rename that, and it's nice because you can actually see the names that you put on stuff compared to Fresco, where all you get is the layer preview, which is the little squares. So these I can actually go ahead. I often name them. Just, I mean, you don't have to, but for me, just so I know, sometimes, especially for really like small detail layers, you can't really tell in the thumbnail what it is, which was the problem I was having in Fresco. So it's nice to be able to layer it to put the names on the layers. So I'm gonna go ahead and name this layer the big star. Oops. Big star. Okay. I'm having trouble typing with this thing for some reason. Okay, and then these are our little stars. So I'm gonna little star. That's better. I'm gonna use my swipe capabilities. Much better than that, or much better at that. So, alright, so we have our basic shapes here. You can definitely see with that dark background that some of these areas did not get filled on the little stars. So I'm going to go ahead and fill those in now, make sure they're all nice and clean and beautiful as I want. And the cool thing is, too, you can also go in and adjust these layers so that, you know, for example, I could warp them so they're going further out to the distance like that. I'm kind of wanting them to go farther away. I mean, I could also just distort them as well. Like so. I didn't really mess with that kind of thing in Fresco very much. I guess I'm slightly more familiar with it working with Procreate. I know you can definitely do this in Photoshop. If you were going to be... Oops, get rid of that. Okay. So, for example, if you're going to be doing further edits with like a Wacom tablet, or if you're more familiar with Photoshop, then Fresco has a lot of similarities in that regard, though Procreate has also similar tools, just with different names or, you know, different UI, so the user interface is a bit different. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. I feel like I'm not really liking this as much, so I might just go ahead and... I feel like it's too linear. I think I'm going to just go ahead and clear the layer. You know, I just messed with that, but... and this is little stars with an S. Little stars. So I think I'm also going to go ahead and do the big star. Again, clear it, restart. So I still get to keep the layer, which is nice. For example, if like a star were just hanging out, these are too thin. I need a thicker. So I can adjust the brush size here. The star was just hanging out over here like this, and just relaxing. Personified star. I don't know, it looks really weird, doesn't it? It looks pretty weird. It looks like a banana. I think I'm gonna redo that as well. I'm just trying to see what would look good, maybe. Okay, what if we just made like this big star tip that was attached to the moon? Now it's a giant star versus a little moon, though it's a bit hard to read what it's supposed to be at this point. For example, if I moved it around and made it, it does look a little off. So I'm gonna go ahead and redraw this. For example, let's go ahead and clear this, and we'll draw a little star and then blow it up. so I can see what it would look like. So for example, I have a star here. Yep, see, that's what happens when you do not connect your lines and you get a whole thing here. So let's try again. So anyways, we can see this is a big star here. I mean, we could just leave it like that, but it wouldn't be very interesting. Whoa, okay, I'm still in the warp function, aren't I? So let's get out of that. We just want freeform. You can see that this would be what it would look like if I put the star over the top of the moon like this. If I made it really big. That's kind of interesting. Of course, you can't really tell it's a star. For example, if I put it here and then move the moon further over like this. So it almost looks like it's flowering out. I mean, it's just, the problem with this idea is that I'm guessing most people are not going to be able to figure out what the heck I'm doing. So I'm going to keep on working on this. So I got a star here and it's hanging out on the edge of the moon. Or maybe it's standing here on the moon. And then I could also duplicate this and then just I could combine them together and make a whole new layer of just these exact same stars. Like so. And duplicate again. I'm kind of trying to make this cohesive. Of course, it keeps calling itself Big Star. Let me zoom in so I can see better what I'm doing here. Just keep on going. So now we got another one here. Even smaller and just keep on making them smaller and smaller. And even smaller, because why not? So as you can tell, I'm a lot more familiar with how to adjust and work with these shapes in Procreate compared to Fresco, since I haven't used Fresco that much, but I think it's really fun to be able to work with these shapes before, you know, it saves a lot of time sometimes being able to just copy paste and put these all together without, oops, shoot. So I'm gonna group them up. So basically, I feel like workflow wise, I've gotten a lot more used to Procreate, so it's a lot faster for me to work with it and get what I'm looking for more quickly. So I'm gonna flatten that group. So now this is just going to be stars. Oops, not states, stars. Of course, Stardew Valley comes up on my recommended options. So anyways, let's go ahead and I'm gonna clean this up just slightly here on this big star. I could also round them out slightly. I mean, for the smaller ones, I'm not gonna bother as much. Just for this big one, that's really in the forefront here. You can really see it. And I could zoom in and kind of adjust on some of these other ones, kind of clean them up a little bit. Because I just copy pasted the one that wasn't very clean, which if I was really thinking about it, I probably should have cleaned up the big one first and gotten it to where I wanted it to look before I started copy pasting it. So that's one thing that you can pay attention to when you work with Procreate or any digital art app, is just kind of, if you're going to copy paste a layer, fix it before you copy paste it. Oh, shoot. Okay, so that's one thing that I occasionally do by accident is you can switch between um, the modes. So you can change that in the settings how you want your shortcuts to work. And if I turn the pencil a certain way, sometimes it will think I'm going to the eraser mode. So I think that requires that I adjust my settings and kind of fix that. Also, so what I'm doing now is if you swipe on the layers, so I want both the stars and the moon to move together. You swipe and then swipe left on the one that you click the first one, so you touch the first layer, and then the other layers you swipe on them to add them together. You can group them, or you can select them together to move them around and adjust them. So that can be rather useful. So anyway, I'm going to keep going. We want these to look really sparkly, and I was going for a rainbow look. Also, the moon, I think I wanted to add some polka dots or some, like, texture. So I'm going to go for this brown color, and also I want to select this moon shape. And you can see now that it's selected, so if I go ahead and make a new layer on top of this, it shouldn't draw outside of. So as you can see here, it's not going outside. I know it's a little bit hard to see maybe because the colors are similar, but for example, if I'm using yellow here, it only shows up where it's selected. So that's rather useful, I think, for if you're trying to just get one area and not get the whole thing. And then if I go ahead and deselect, then you've got the pattern right on top of the moon there, and that's really fun. So I can adjust that. I'm going to call this moon pattern. Okay. And then for the stars, I mean, I could do a lot of things with them. So for example, if I go ahead and select all my stars, then, ooh, okay, this gets harder because of how small these things are. So that should select all of them here. So then if I went ahead and added some texture to them, oh, whoops, I accidentally deselected them. Of course, you can adjust the threshold. Yeah, okay, so now I'm on the selection mode that I want. So I can go ahead and grab a different color. I'm gonna, let's see, I don't know what all these are actually yet because I haven't messed with them. Harmony, oh, that's actually really smart. I'm sure in Fresco they have similar of these options. I didn't see them, but I know in the other Adobe apps they were really smart about offering complementary colors and all these different settings you could do. So maybe for this one, maybe I'll go with Ascend, because Ascend seems like an easy enough set of colors. Of course, I added a couple of custom ones here. So I'm going to go ahead and, of course, I'm working with a yellow star. So technically, I could also adjust these to be different colored. So technically what I could do now is go to my new layer. Oops, I don't want that. I want a brush. So I'm going to go to, we could go to this painting. You can see all the different options we have here. Wild light. That's interesting. I'm going to try this wild light and see how that works. I could add some white here. Just kind of, ooh, okay. It's a little interesting. I mean, it definitely gives it a texture. I feel like the white might be a little bit strong. So I could go back in here and adjust it so it's a different color. Of course, it's harder to do because I used white. So that's kind of the downfall for picking white. If I go back out of here, I could recolor it too. But see, that's not getting what I wanted. That's only I was getting the opposite of what I was trying to change the color on, so that's not quite what I want either. So I don't know, I'm just gonna keep messing around with this. Technically, I could also go here to the moon layer, and I'm going to select this again. Oops. Select the moon. And then I want a new layer where I'm going to do this rainbow spray paint effect, I think is what I'm going to go for here. And what do I want to use for that? I mean, in Fresco, we were using live brushes, which were more of a watercolor look. We could go for a different, like, here's watercolor. Let's see how that looks. So, for example, you got this here, so it kind of has that watercolor. Oh, I see how it's working. So it's not quite the same as the live brushes, of course, but I mean, it still kind of looks like it's painted on here, and then I can just. That's cool. I think that's pretty cool. So then now I have a rainbow effect on the moon here. I could also adjust its saturation so it's really bold, and I kind of like that look a little more where, you know, it's really sticking out. Then I could go here on the pattern and adjust how this overlays, if it's supposed to be more bold or if I want it to be more subdued and blended into the watercolor. I think the white looks kind of cool too, actually, to kind of contrast. And then when you make it small, you can kind of see it there, how that looks. I think the stars are a little bit strange right now. I'm going to go ahead and we can see what this is in the thumbnail, so I'm not going to give it a name right now. But I will go back in here and grab onto these things, these stars. Whoops. Grab onto the stars. Sometimes you have to, whoops, tap them a couple times or zoom in and tap them. It's also nice, we do have this history here, so it is similar. Technically, I could just go ahead and make a whole new palette with that rainbow. Oops, I made two. Delete that. Yeah, I don't want that one. That's just empty. Okay, well, I accidentally just stuck that in there. What I wanted was to take these colors that I just worked with, kind of adjust them so that they're in here. You can also hold this down and delete it if you don't want it to be there. Put that there. So these are more of your subdued rainbow colors. And we got our pink. The pink's already there, so that's fine. Put white here too. And then we also have that blue color, which we can adjust as we go on. I think next what I'm going to do is maybe I'll work with this one here, the gold. And this might look really weird on the stars right now because they're blue. I could adjust them and see how that looks, but let's go ahead and just kind of... But it does look a bit different. It almost looks like a sponge more than a live brush, I think, in a lot of ways. And you can see the difference there between this and this. I'm going to also adjust... Let's get rid of that, and I'm going to adjust the color. Yeah, I think the white for the stars actually does look a lot better. Maybe give it a little bit of coloring here. Go for a reddish hue. And then if you put that back on there, I mean, it does give it kind of a sparkliness. I think it's really cool how you can use texture to really make your shapes pop. So I'm going to call this the bright brightness. And then this is going to be our gold Painting. Paint texture. Whoa. Not FT. Paint texture. Texture. Good. Okay. So this is our rainbow. So then really all I need to do now is figure out if I want any sort of shadows on anything or if I want it to be more of a flat look. And then of course the background, I'd like to add some more stars. So I might do that by maybe changing this to like a lighter blue color. And then I can always adjust that into a different color as I like. And there should be a good brush for this, I think. In the spray paints, you can do a lot of fun stuff. Like Flicks is really good, I think, for making stars. You can also adjust it as you need. I don't need to do that right now. So I'm going to just test it out and see what it looks like. If I just... Oops, that's a little bit too hard. Maybe we could lower the opacity. And that's a little bit too much, I think. I don't want it to be like too much texture going on here. Could also make it smaller and just, whoops, geez, I got on the other layer, didn't I? I did, I got rid of my layer. Whoops, too many undos. Oh, I'm on the eraser as well, so that's when you know when something isn't working. Check it out and see if it's user error or what. Okay, so now we have, I mean, it doesn't quite look like stars, but I can kind of adjust it. Or I could try something completely different as well. I can also change the opacity so it's not so bold and it just kind of sits in the background. So you can see it looks like this right now. I mean, I guess it looks okay. It's not really quite where I want it to be. I could also do this kind of thing where I burst around the outside. I use this burst brush on the outside of the moon itself and the stars. I don't know. This doesn't... I mean, it makes it look glowy. I'd have to say that. I don't know if it's sparkly per se. It is glowy though, and that's a little bit too much. Oh, that's kind of cool where it kind of pops out from the background a little. This makes it really look like it's glowing, and this looks more like it's an underlay. That's an interesting design that I could work with here. So we have that, we have this. Kind of, that would separate it out more from the background. I don't know if you would say it would be sparkly though. I mean, we're still going for the sparkly look, right? So I still want it to really sparkle. And I'm going to leave this for now. I'm going to call this glow. And this is going to be stars. Little stars. I mean, I think these are still too big to really be considered stars per se, but it is an interesting idea to kind of use brushes to make it, to give it that sort of effect. Okay, that looks a little more star-like to me. I think it still might be a little bit overkill here. Where there's just a little bit too much going on. Which one looks more like stars? This one or this one? I definitely think this one looks more like stars. I could also do one more layer and see what it looks like if I make the brush as big as it possibly can be. I mean, that's a lot more simplified here, and then we could kind of add some little dustings here and there. I think over on this area, it's a little bit too much going on. So I would go ahead and erase this, and I can adjust that to a different brush if I want. Just kind of get rid of it. And you can see it completely disappeared, but I could also lower the opacity and kind of... okay. Another thing I could do as well, because this is way too much going on, I think. Or we could adjust, so this one is a completely different... And based on how much we do the saturation, the brightness, we can see how prominent the stars look like in the background here. I'm just gonna call this Galaxy Glow. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this over here and see how this looks if I overlay it rather than... Ooh, this is getting interesting. Ooh, that's very glowy. That's also pretty glowy. Okay. Very interesting. Alright. I'm kind of liking these different styles here. They really give it that... Oh, wow. That's like alien looking to me. I don't really know which one I like the most. Maybe I should just put it back underneath. That might be the answer. So I don't want it to lose its complete glow here. Without the glow to it, it just seems like it's getting caught up in the middle of this galaxy patterns going underneath. So I might just throw this back here and adjust it down here instead. It doesn't give it the same effect. That's kind of cool, actually. It's kind of washing out the background a little. Oh, it's interesting how when you adjust the brightness, it really changes it up a little. You can also change the coloring here. So that changed it up a little bit. I could also go here and kind of adjust it with a little bit of a soft brush. I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it is interesting to see how it blends out and what you can really do while you mess around with things. For example, I could duplicate this guy, drop it underneath a little so that it's still popping out, so it kind of looks like 2D a little bit, which is kind of interesting and different. And then I could do the same thing for these stars. For example, I could group them up, and then I think I'm gonna duplicate this just to test this out. So I'm gonna close this group. This is original stars. I mean, we already have a lot of stars and moons going on in here. I'm gonna call this one, well, actually I shouldn't bother because we need to flatten it first. Yeah, whatever, it's gonna be stars. So I'm gonna just go ahead and move that over. Wait, I don't want to do that. I need this back. Okay, this one I want to go underneath so I can kind of create, yeah, for example, like this, and then I could adjust the coloring on that and kind of change it up. I don't think green's the right color I'm going for. Huh. I mean, that's also kind of interesting, I guess. I wouldn't say this is my usual way of doing art, because I tend to usually have a line art and I do more of a comic art style. But this is an interesting, different design. I kind of like all the texture that's going on in this, but it is a little bit heavy. Like, if we're going to make this really tiny, I think it's going together. I mean, it's pulling your eye towards the middle, but I don't know if it's quite what I'm looking for or not. I'm still kind of torn on this. I don't want it to be... I want to have a little bit of texture here. And then they also need a little bit of sparkle to them still, I feel like. So maybe let's go ahead and open one more layer. And I'm going to see what do we have for some options here. I have all sorts of stuff. There's definitely a lot more brushes built into Procreate that automatically come with the app compared to Fresco. And of course you can add more too, so that's really useful. I mean, we could go to this light pen and see what that looks like. I think it might be just too much, but... Huh. Everything, it definitely looks like it's glowing. I would have to say that the glowing bit, the glowingness is definitely there. But would you say it's sparkly? Maybe the stars are sparkly? This is interesting. I keep saying this is interesting over and over again. Yeah, this is definitely different than my normal style. I'm gonna have to say that. But I am kind of impressed with what I was able to do with this. So basically, if we're zooming out, it looks like that. And zoom in, and you've got all this stuff going on. I still think this blue may be a little bit overkill, so I might adjust this just slightly. So, okay, now we got some pink going on. Whoa. That just looks dark. Whoa, okay. That's a completely different feeling. I definitely like it where it's not... That's just too flat, I think. I liked it in the middle here. And that's just breaking the color. Okay, so that's where basically we were at before. So what I might end up doing is just kind of softening this out slightly. Not to where it's like completely flattened, because comparing this to that, oops, jeez. Did I just mess it up? No, okay, that's fine. This glow layer, this white glow. The white glow layer is pretty dang intense. If we do the add or the overlay, it kind of adjusts it a little bit. It's not so overly... Whoa, okay. Screen. Screen is also pretty interesting, too. Then if we adjusted the opacity, I think it actually looks better, not so strong. And then we could also take these textures that I've done in the background and kind of bring those down, too, where they're not so intense. I still want the texture, but I could also bring this down slightly. So that those, mainly the stars and the moon, are really coming out, and then we've got this galaxy stuff going on all in the background. We could also adjust it so that the effect is not so strong. That hard light effect is pretty strong on this, I'd have to say. Okay. I mean, we could also adjust the background color and see. Wow, okay, that would really change it up, actually. Okay, that gets interesting as well. It's not such a strong contrast. Okay, now we're just breaking the color really bad. Let's not go that far. So now that I've done this, I like how the galaxy looks, but I don't like how this rainbow looks. It's not bright enough for me, I think. So I might want to improve the saturation on it to kind of really get it to pop. Oh, okay, that's not what I wanted. I didn't want a hue. Because I really want that rainbow to come out more. So it's really obvious. I mean, it is obvious enough, I guess. And then, of course, the stars. We could also adjust them. So, okay. It's complaining at me. I mean, I like what's going on here, so I'm going to flatten this, and then I'm going to merge them together. And then we could adjust the hue saturation here, so we could make it different colors. Okay, well, I think this is kind of what I was getting at here. I mean, honestly, I think we could do some more contrast, maybe. That's one thing I feel like maybe if I duplicated this. Oh, yeah, okay, there we go. Now we're getting a little more contrast where we're duplicating this, and then we could darken, multiply. Oh, yeah, okay, I like that better already, where it's really popping out from that galaxy. What's interesting is that I just now noticed that the second layer here, these aren't matching up at all, so I might as well just get rid of them. And it did leave some interesting texture from kind of overdoing it on the contrast and adjustments, which is interesting. I mean, that's not exactly what I was going for. So I guess that's one thing to pay attention to as well when you're working on this. You can really see that this kind of left some watermarks. So I may have overdone it a little bit. But it is kind of interesting to mess around with and see what works for you and what you're trying to accomplish. It's really fun to play with, I think. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that down here in the corner. So now you can really see that that's something I finished. And that's basically what I've come up with here for Sparkly. One next step we could also do is to mess with the animation element of Procreate. And I actually haven't tried that yet. I think if I did, I might adjust the coloring on the stars and make it really rainbowy. I don't know. I think it's probably just going way too far. So, for example, you go to Canvas, Animation Assist, and because it's based on the frames, it's not going to be what I want.
I ended up going back in and doing a little bit more work on this piece, but this is a completed piece that I created on Procreate. And I'm hoping that you got something out of watching my process and seeing how I worked with both apps. This is the art piece that I created in Fresco. And I think that there are definitely pros and cons to using both, but I hope that it was helpful for you to watch my process. Thank you for watching.